Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Better Way of Life. It's Friday. Friday. It's early doors for all of you. Unless you're listening to this on catch up, of course, then it's whatever time of the day it is. It could be the middle of Christmas. I don't know. You could be listening to this on Christmas Day while unwrapping the third pair of slippers. What's the main present, Marianne, that you get too many of ever at Christmas? Is it
I don't really get
socks?
presents anymore.
You don't get presents? Oh no!
Not really, no.
Right, okay. Well, we're going to have to change
maybe.
that.
I know. I don't. I have to say though, it's my birthday Saturday, which it will have already been by the time this goes out because it's school holidays.
Happy birthday!
Like flex stuff.
Yeah.
It's really sweet actually because I'm not really a birthday person. I find them all a little bit. I'd rather shower somebody else with and I always used to do that. And then I was acutely aware, again, it all tied in with me being diagnosed, that I suddenly realized it was always me doing everything for everybody else. And I was really happy about doing all these things. And actually, unconsciously underneath it all, I was really exhausted. And when you actually step down from that roller coaster, you realize that nobody's really doing anything for me. And not nobody, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
let's just get this right. This isn't self-pity.
No, it's absolutely not.
No.
I did have a realization the other day, though, just generally, and it all tied in with this. And I do talk to people about this that have been diagnosed because I think it's the lesser talked about stuff. I do quite a lot of inward thinking about all this stuff. I'm reflecting back why and all this kind of stuff, and then changing stuff, because you can reflect back and you can go, okay, I've got ADHD or autism, whatever it is you've got, and you could settle into that and go, this is me, this is it, which is fine. But the bits,
I'm now going to understand the label and go with the label.
Basically. Absolutely, yeah. So you could be those things, and you can be a lot of the people that post stuff that don't actually help the situation, because people then think, if I've got this and this symptom, then therefore I must be. So for me, it sort of tied in with over COVID. I'd always seen myself as somebody that was really sociable and loved people. We had lots of parties. I'd always go to things. I saw myself as somebody that was loud. That's kind of the narrative I sort of gave myself. And then lockdown happened. I lost all my work and everything. And people appeared to be doing all these Zoom quizzes and get-togethers. And I'm like, absolutely not. I really wasn't interested. Like, literally wasn't interested. And I suddenly realized I don't really like people that much. Like lots of people, I was actually doing stuff to be busy and people please. So whether it was busyness just to, I did a lot of fundraising, I do a lot of stuff in the community. And I think I sort of saw that if I was doing, I must be good and important and worth something, because I'd be liked. And a whole growing up's lifetime of kind of always feeling like I was the one sort of on the outside. I'd be picked for sports stuff because that was my thing. But other than that, I was never the popular kid. I wasn't unpopular as such. I looked like a French exchange student as well. That probably didn't go down particularly well. My skin was dark, so I'd get bullied for it. Ironically, people say it's beautiful now, but and then I sort of had that realization during lockdown. A few people did a few things that upset me, and I thought I just literally suddenly shut down. And I'm trying to pick it back up again to decide what I want to do, who I want to see.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of things in my life had changed. Not that a lot of people would have realized. And I was still trying to work out not who I know who I am. But I think when you have kids, you get married, life happens. When you have such a big thing happen to you, it's hard then to decide how to change things when there's lots of other people that get affected in that too.
Mm.
And I don't think.
Do you know what? I've just got to say this for a minute, because this is this is something for people that are listening that have perhaps never never listened to this before or whatever. So we're obviously talking about a diagnosis of ADHD that you have. That there actually typifies a brilliant ADHD answer to the question, what do you get too much of at Christmas? Right? But it was a brilliant answer. But I'm guessing most neurotypicals would have gone socks, and that's it. Their mind would have moved on from there. But you unpacked it, didn't you?
Yeah, well, yes, because I often talk about the word count.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the phrases you hear? I just did my teacher thing. Somebody said to me a while ago, whenever I'm talking, I ask them questions and they go, oh, no, is there an answer to this one? I do my teacher thing. It's just me trying to get somebody else to join in. If you think about some of the phrases that neurodivergent people have said to them, or other people, can you think of some of the phrases like "you're too sensitive"? Can you think of any other ones? They also do too much.
I see what you're saying.
You're too much.
Probably, and this is a big one. You don't listen.
Now, yeah, you don't listen.
Right, which actually isn't true at all. It's this complete opposite of that, right?
Yeah.
And I know that from little Barnaby, my youngest, who's got ADHD and autism. He'll be watching the telly, seemingly intently, right? Having a conversation over there. One of us will say, right, and then we'll get to a point where you go, you're not listening. And they go, yes, I am. You told me to verbatim say exactly.
What? And you're like, oh. I don't think my brother used to be the same. So you talk too much, you don't listen, you're too sensitive, you overreact. That's another one. Overreact. So I now have a really good way of I don't really do it because I don't put myself. If anybody speaks to me like that, then I don't want to be around them, quite frankly.
Yeah.
What I did was I made a big choice about who I gave my time to. So I now see it that my time is worth a lot, and I will choose to share it with people. That was quite a shift.
Can I just say something on this while we're talking about this particular thing? I wasn't going to go here this morning, but this is interesting, so we'll go there. It's one of the problems I have with all of the big ADHD podcasts, all of them, is that they're overproduced. And the reason I say that is because what the producers are doing is they're producing them in a neurotypical way, right? But what you get when you listen to it back is you get a neurotypical stream of consciousness rather than a neurodivergent stream of consciousness, because there is no way in the world, I know this from working with you and from other people who have got ADHD and from my son and whatever, I know there is no way in the world that everybody that appears on those shows just gives one sentence answers and then shuts up. Doesn't happen, right? Because neurodivergent people unpack things with their brain, will unpack things and they will speak what their brain is unpacking. So when you do a ADHD show and the presenter is asking a one-line question and then the person responding is giving a one-line answer
it's not
back,
the real answer.
That's not that's not it.
No.
Right? So just something for all of you to consider out there.
I have been on a couple,
Yeah.
and I remember feeling like, oh God, am I going to do this wrong? Literally feeling like, am I going to do this wrong? Am I going to have annoyed them? Am I going to this and that? And I thought, oh, this is like you've broken away from that. Because my thing that I say to people is, and it's not even just neurodivergent people, it's actually, it goes on a lot, this. So in actual fact, when someone says something like, you talk too much, and I've said this about this on here before, and I'll keep saying it. If somebody says you talk too much, my answer back would be, sorry, I wasn't aware that there was a word count. If you give me a word count, then absolutely, if I've gone over it, then I've talked too much. But actually, I've used perfect amount of words for me. You're oversensitive. Actually, probably what they mean is that you don't fit their narrative. You've probably said something that hits a nerve for them and it just disrupts them. So again, my argument is, I thought you were a bit insensitive, but I was too polite to say. And I think it is often that neurodivergent people have often heard so much, and it may change now. It may change with younger people growing up. I don't know. That almost like you're a pain. So you're constantly feeling this need to apologize before you've even said anything. When I was younger, where I used to waitress, on reflection, they used to say to me, yes, Marianne, we know you're sorry. Because that's what I used to just spend my life apologizing to people. And I used to apologize before I'd done anything. And I said that if I apologize now, I've got it in before I've said something.
I think I'm gonna bring music into it. It's a natural thing for me to do. I had a really interesting conversation with a young musician yesterday, whose writing is really very mature for her age, and we were discussing actually something that Sting had said on camera about modern music, where he kind of dissed modern music without dissing modern music. It was really quite clever. But what he was saying, which is right, and she agreed, and actually she builds that into her songs because she felt the same way, is that a lot of modern music, what it misses is the middle eight, right? And the reason the middle eight, it's a bit in the song where you've got the bit where it goes intro, verse, chorus. Yeah. So intro, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, right? And what he was saying is modern songs are stuck in that verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, and they just go around in a circle. They don't actually have this middle eight, right? Because he said the middle eight is relief, right? The middle eight is therapy. And he was explaining it like, so you'd write a song and it's like, oh, I'm sick to death of my girlfriend. Oh, I know, I'm in love with my girlfriend. Oh, but she hates me. I'm head over heels, but she's got another man. Right now, the middle eight bit would be a bit where you offer maybe a bit of hope or a different perspective, right? Yeah. Musically you do, and maybe lyrically you do as well, right? And so there's a way out.
Yes.
But when you just write verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, go anywhere. It don't go anywhere. There's no escape. And he said music needs to be an escape for people. It needs to give it needs to give people somewhere to go to get away from life, right? Yes. So if you take the middle eight out, and I feel a bit the same about these ADHD big people podcasts. Sorry out there if you're producing one of those, that don't let people be as them on these podcasts, but it's all very polished and more neurotypical in the actual way people talk, right? And people have said it about when they've listened to this. Oh, that's refreshing. It's really different. It's just like a conversation. Yeah. Isn't that great? It is. and the conversation just goes all over the place. Yeah, because that's like a neurodivergent brain. And now you're really showing people that. But if we keep just making everything into something that's like, highly polished, right, for the big audience, right, how much help is that really to people whose brains don't work that way? Because actually, I'm going to mention access to work now. It's a bit like that, and there's lots of groups coming up at the moment on social media of people having a bit of a dig at access to work, Department of Work and Pensions. Sorry, but you need to listen to this stuff out there, because people are saying they're not getting what they actually need. And I think you need to start listening, right, folks, at government level. You're not listening to what people are saying. I've had 2 conversations this week with people that are applying, and then they said no one's listening. And the problem is, what people are thinking is, we will coach people into being neurotypical, right? That's not helpful. You might think I'm helping the neurodivergent person be more successful by giving them all of this stuff, right? Which their brain's going like,
the worst thing.
Yeah, it's the worst thing in the world, right?
Unless you're a tech person that
really gets that really loves that.
But then you probably would have already been doing that anyway. If you were a tech person,
you would have found ways.
If you haven't, you're like me and you go, oh, not another thing. And then I just sort of run. I mean, I've got somebody that I'm working with who will be coming on here, who is going from being employed to self-employed. So she was going to be applying as an employed person. She's now got to put a different application in because she's going self-employed. Story much like mine, to be quite honest. And she said, but the problem I've got is that in order to apply, you have to put your bank statements, you have to put your, I think it's your bank, something like that in to show your income. And I said, so how does that work then? So she literally has to be self-employed, be messing it up. And I know that because that's what I was doing. Yeah. In order to be able to go, can I have some help? Can you imagine saying to somebody that was visually impaired, and I'm sure it does happen, but it would be less acceptable. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Right, okay, I want you to start your business. You can't see, you can't hit whatever it is. And I just want you to do your best. Like, just do your best until we can see that it's failing. And then we will, then apply and then wait 6 months.
But not only that, we're going to help you get out of that mess by giving you more things to do and more things to learn that you're rubbish at learning. Because that's
actually
really that's rubbish.
They're not going to help you out of the mess anyway. I mean, I know when I started working with you, I was like, I don't know which bit to fix or do or whatever first, because I feel like I'm in a with it really. And so actually it's great now to work with the lady I'm working with, because I'm able to sort of help her in a way that I wish I'd had help back then. If you've helped me.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, because I feel that's a really great direction that you're going.
I would like to get slippers for Christmas, by the way, but I often don't.
If there's a slipper manufacturer out there that's
I know the ones I like.
If anybody knows anybody that makes slippers, please.
And socks.
Marianne will do. Look, she's got great figures on LinkedIn. Socks. Absolutely killing it. Socks and
socks.
Yes, but do you know who does socks? Do you know who does socks?
I think I know this.
All the tech companies, all of them.
I love socks. I love socks. They show what mood you're like. I love them. Love socks.
The trouble is with tech socks, and I have got quite a lot. They normally have the logo of the tech company on them, and I can
model socks.
Right. Okay. Folks, if you're listening, if you're a tech company and you've got socks as merch, because I know, because I've been to all of your shows and whatever, like I used to go to the AWS Summit and I'd come out with 10 pairs of socks, right?
I'm jealous.
Brilliant. If you're a tech company and you've got a lovely new bit of software and you want to promote it and whatever, Marianne will do a post on LinkedIn with your socks. She'll do a sock parade. Absolutely. Completely. And if you make slippers, we're gonna push on this, right? I'm actually gonna, in the writing around this, I'm going to make sure it mentions the fact that we are looking for a sponsor for the show who does slippers.
But I'm a bit particular about the ones I like.
Yeah, I like my slippers as well. Oh, I haven't got my slippers on at the
Well, I
moment.
haven't
I was
got
going to
mine
show you
on,
my
so
new
I'm
slippers.
house.
I'll tell you what I am wearing. And actually, I'll quite happily we'll have sponsorship from them as well. You can wear these as slippers as well, by the way. I'm wearing some Hey Dudes. I love Hey Dudes.
Oh, I like
so
those.
comfortable. Yeah.
I'm just seeing because it should show the ones that I've had before.
So listen, Hey Dudes, right? If you're watching, we both love some Hey Dudes. They do fur lined ones.
Oh, really?
Yeah, lovely.
The ones that I'm just seeing if I can see the slippers that I've had in the past.
I told you we'd take it off in different angles.
Oh, these, but they're these ones. They're not quite those. This sort of style, but ish. I'm just looking on my phone here.
Yeah. Not that we're
those.
Those ones, yeah.
You know the sort of ones, but the ones I've got, they've got like a little metal thing on. But I wear them and wear them and wear them. But I've actually got two pairs because often I lose one somewhere. And the dog takes it for a walk, so it generally means then that if I've got 4 in the house, I can usually try and get a pair together because I leave things all over the place. Surprise, surprise.
Kong, if you're watching, you should do some like dog proof. The outside bit, it should be really nice and furry on the inside, right? But the outside bit should be like that plasticky material that dogs can't get their teeth through. That would be great. Well done, Kong. There's an idea for you. But getting back to that point, I think it's really good direction you're going in now with doing this stuff to help business owners who are neurodivergent, who need a business coach to help them see the pathway through and to give them some really good ideas on which way to go. But also, what I like is the fact that you've been there yourself, right?
Yeah, I mean, all this came
so easy, isn't it? The trouble is when you get a business coach who hasn't ever done it, has just read about it.
I'll tell you what the difference it makes. I mean, this came from Sarah. I think Sarah May. She's the HR consultant, and it came because I had a conversation with her, and it came about because in the typical. Well, I've seen a business coach before that said, "What is it you want to do?" And I'm like, ask me that question. It's like forcing me down a road, and I'm going, I don't know what's down the other roads. How can I make a decision? So, which is why it was great working with you, because working with other people that had forced me into making the decision, then I'd say but, and they go, I don't want our buts. And I'm going, well, sorry, but, because if you say to me, do you want to do that or that or that? And I'm going, I don't really know. If I know for definite I don't want to do something, it will be definite because there'll be a reason why. But you and I know, I mean, every week something new comes up or I decide I don't want to do something. However, as you said, there's always been that mainstay that I've said I wanted to do the AT. I wanted to teach people how to teach. I'm passionate about it. I think there's a need for it, even though people don't think there is. However, there's other stuff. I don't chase those things, actually. They tend to just sort of happen. So with this, I'd been working with somebody who said...
can I just say as well, though, sometimes that's why they are great things. Because sometimes if they're things that you don't chase, but they just happen,
they're meant to.
And energy-wise...
Yeah.
Right. And I know that sounds, for some of you out there that are not into all of that heebie-jeebie stuff, energy sounds a bit kind of, hippie stroke coachy, doesn't it? But realistic energy, like I'm a mother, I'm looking after kids, I run my own business, I want to do other stuff like, work with a charity and everything else as well, right? Energy zapping stuff, and I live with a condition that means that my brain does this all the time. Energy wise, sometimes it's good to get into those things, because if it just comes rather than chase, it doesn't wear you down.
Well, also, when you've got bills to pay, I mean, I've said to you before, you've come to me before and said, would you consider this and this? I said, look, that sounds dodgy. I'll try anything. That if it's going to make money and it appears I'm good with that, then absolutely every day of the week. What it taught me, though, was that, and again, for years, I loved crafting and stuff, and I probably spent far too much time and money and whatever on stuff that I enjoyed, but it took a lot of my time and money, maybe not huge amounts. So I learned quite a lot from that. I learned to be aware of what those traits were doing to me. They were trying to make me chase after all of this stuff. And I don't do that now. I'm quite pragmatic about it, to go, okay, well, I'll give it. And there's times I've said to you, yes, I'll give that a go, but only if I can see that there's going to be some sort of money there. But so this one particular person said to me, I've learned so much from you, just like talking to you. I never really even knew what ADHD was. It was somebody maybe that's a bit older, that isn't, and I'm going to say male, because a lot of older males in a corporate world might not have even, up until a while ago, it wasn't anything that was talked about.
Yep.
And they said, I've learned so much. And actually what I've learned is that some of the things that you've talked about, I can see in other people that irritated me previously, but now I see what they're doing. I don't see it as an irritation. I see it as a why they were doing it, sort of thing. So anyway, then I'd given quite a lot of, inadvertently given advice about how to manage people on their team that were potentially neurodivergent. And they came up with an idea of, why don't you offer like a troubleshooting service where it's not just all on the employee to be coached. It's actually a two-way thing, which might be training, but the training bit's only the beginning bit. That's only the bit that gives you that sort of awareness. And so actually then what you do is you work with the employee and you work with the manager, and actually you problem solve, because essentially there's a problem to be solved, and the employee isn't the problem. There is a problem to be solved in there. And often when I actually get down to the nitty gritty of it with people, they'll say, oh yeah, it's because I do this, and when I do that, I do too much of that. And I say, okay, so can we look at your job description, please? So we look at the job description, and actually what you then end up finding is there's a whole load of other stuff this person's doing that never was on their job description. So I'm saying, well, so really, are you the problem here, or is it that the job description isn't like your what are they called, tasks?
Yeah.
Nobody's actually seeing what's going on.
Because a job description in some ways should be a boundary.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. But if there's creep away from the job description, and let's face it, most jobs creep away from the job description.
They do, and then it actually ends up exploiting, because people that are neurodivergent often either do it and they're drowning. Well, they often are actually, but nobody would ever know. So they keep, I've got to keep pleasing. I've got to keep pleasing. There's often what's going on is that you then either haven't got the time to say, I don't understand this system or this or this. So you end up putting extra hours in at home, after work, messing things up, but thinking, I can't tell anybody because I'm going to get into trouble for it. And I don't even know how I got on to talking about that then. But it...
do you know what? I used to see that a lot when I used to do the workplace assessments, especially in the banks, right? And managers would know it's happening, but wouldn't necessarily understand to what extent it was a problem, if you know what I mean. And one of the most obvious ones that I kept coming across was that managers would send tasks to people in Outlook. Other software is available.
Don't tell me that, I said.
Right. But they'd send people tasks, right? But what they would do is that they would label every task as a high priority. Now, to a neurodivergent mind, quite often that meant every single task in there has to be done by the end of the day. the problem, the communication problem, because it is a communication problem there actually lay with the manager, because it was laziness on the manager's point. That what they were thinking was, well, yeah, that's high priority to me, and I'm going to get it off my chest. I'm going to get it off of my desk and push it somewhere else. But what they weren't realizing was what that was then doing. And I then found people that was staying 2 or 3 hours after everybody else, because they got this huge list of high priority things in there. And then actually, when you brought people together and you said, can we just talk about this? It would be like, oh yeah, no, they're not all high priority. Right then. So why are you sending them all as high priority?
Because the neurodivergent person will.
Because that person's now, that's where the anxiety and stuff is coming from. It's from that. Oh, I didn't realize that. So here's the thing. Actually, can you potentially not send them right until the next day or the day after if they're not high priority? So then just not even there, right? And then if you are sending them and they're not high priority but they're low priority, can you actually change it so it says low priority? And suddenly, if your task set for a day goes from that to this, it's manageable.
It is, and because I think what people don't realize is that many people that have, if they got ADHD, will always be last minute, rushing, maybe not complete some, will be late, and you're seen as a bit of a joke to everybody. That I always saw that's what I was, and I kind of own it now. But it's not nice when you feel that that's what's happening, but because actually what they don't see is that you're drowning in it all, but you're also the one that people come to when they need things done last minute, or, and it does exploit, particularly, I think, if someone knows that that's going on, because I used to feel like everything was like a ticking time bomb, and I was waiting to be found out with something that I'd quickly bodged or got done, or not because I was being lazy, but because I was having stared at the screen for like however long and not even knowing. I mean, this was all when I didn't know that I had it. What I found really amazing working with this lady I'm working with, I was going to initially work with her, and she's going to be coming on here actually as part of her journey actually. So initially she was coming on because she is employed and she was struggling with stuff, I suppose. And I didn't hear from her for quite a while, and which isn't uncommon. And I didn't hound her. A lot of people would have said to me, why are you not keeping on at her? And I said, because I'm not going to. The offer is there. I'd said how I could work with her. I think maybe I checked in once, maybe, but I wasn't going to keep going on and on, because if she wanted me and it was the right time, then we would have worked together. So I had a meeting with her, a quite long meeting. We decided about whether it was initially what was going to happen was, so her company that she worked for, brilliant, they'd actually set aside a fair amount of money, actually. I can't remember what budget it came from for her, which I thought was incredible. So then we had a conversation about whether that would include, whether her manager would be included in that, so that, and she said, I think it would be separate. She said, because really I need it for me, she was quite right with that, actually. Actually, as it then happened, was she's leaving. But I think it's brilliant. This guy's still given that budget to her, which I think is absolutely brilliant. And she'll talk about this on here. So in the first session, I said, well, what do you want from this? And I think I maybe work different than quite a lot of other coaches that I've seen, in that I don't have a set way of working with somebody, because we may have an idea about what we want to do in that session, but you know what? All manner of things can happen in between times. So particularly in that first bit. So I said to her, what's the biggest thing for you? So anyway, she said, I'm leaving. So anyway, I'll let her talk about that. But then we worked on stuff, and it was what was the main thing for her that she needed to do. Yep. Then after we did that, it was brilliant, because I set a little task to do. and whatever. And then at the beginning of the session, I said, how's working from home for you? And we ended up having quite a long conversation about how she felt about it. And the reason I was able to do that was that I know for me how difficult that can be. And it may have been that she was like, absolutely fine, it works for me. But what we got onto was how her day, she struggled to start it. And I was then able to share with her about how for me, I go to the gym. But also it was about, could you be your best friend? Could you be the person that says to yourself, you're tired today, you need to stay in bed? Because I have to do that, because I will be angry at myself if you've not got up. And then sometimes I go, but you're tired actually, and it's okay to feel tired.
Yeah.
And so it's this constant sort of narrative. So, and then we've done some work on executive function. So I did a session with her on that, because I thought before we do anything else, she needs to understand what's going on and why. Then last week we did some stuff on the feelings of her past, because she said what she wanted to do. So it was a bit like a therapy session, actually. She wanted to be able to get that out and dump it somewhere. And then this week we're doing some stuff on, basically it's sort of her sort of working on leaving where she's at and then exploring moving into self-employment, that she's excited but also fearful because she doesn't want the past to repeat itself.
Yeah, sure.
So I think it's a brilliant thing. Quite by accident, I didn't know that this is what's going to happen, for her to be able to relaunch herself as her, as the new her that knows who she is. I think it's an exciting thing to do.
I think it is. There was one bit in the middle of that which I just want to pick up on, which is the sort of like working time bit, because I think that's a really interesting bit. I'm sure there will be people listening who go, look, I haven't got time for people that, need to sleep in the middle of the day, because ultimately when you're at work, you're meant to be at work. But the thing is that, we've got to start understanding that actually, a bit like a lot of things in society which have kind of been put there via tradition over many years, right? You could even argue like the institution of marriage, and marriage, 2 kids, mortgage, all of these things, right? Institutionalized, right? Not to say they're wrong, not to say they're right, but there's a lot of like beliefs systems that we take on, and especially around work as well. The 9 to 5, well, people still like have these ideals around it, right? And actually, you'll find that some people who work for a business will have a very different idea of that, especially to self-employed people, right? But it actually, whilst there might be some inconveniences in terms of communication, if somebody's having to rest in the day and somebody else is busy on a team or whatever, or from a customer to client relationship, there's always ways around it. Right? And what we do have now is we have better systems, tech-wise and everything else, for what they now call asynchronous working, enabling people to work together, but not necessarily at the same time. We think about it. If you work with somebody on the other side of the planet, you have to work asynchronously anyway, right? So I just think that, it doesn't. We need to stop and put down our assumption.
This is it. I see a lot on LinkedIn, an awful lot. I saw it on a post yesterday. Was it this morning? I can't remember when it was. Somebody that said, "Can I just say this?" I thought we were going to anyway, but can I just say this? or this needs to be said, or
Oh,
one of those.
that's the worst one, isn't it? This needs to be said.
This needs to be said.
No,
and then it said, I can't even remember what the thing is. The person's problem was. It was to do with. I know what it was. It was to do with. Can we just stop this, please? What?
Oh, is
no.
that what they said? Really?
No, something like that. It was one of those hook lines, can we just stop this now? Or can we just highlight this? And it was about people sending connection requests without a note, right? So this person was saying, this is not okay, blah, 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 blah. So, of course, then lots of people said, absolutely, I agree with you. But an awful lot said, well, I just send them and that's it, really. So I think somebody else said, but to be quite honest, they said, if I've seen, and I do this, and people do it to me, if I've seen that I've had a conversation with somebody on something, or I've commented on something and we've agreed, it's highly likely that person's probably going to send a connection request, or I will. Because what we've actually said is, without saying it, I quite liked what you said. We seem to get on. I quite liked what, so, but we don't really need to have a conversation about that. And so anyway, lots of people disagreed, and then she came up. So someone said, oh, this is how I do it. And the person then said, oh, absolutely, you do you. And then all of them went through, and I thought, well, hang on a minute, you've just agreed with them all, politely agreed. So actually, did you really agree anyway? Were you really that angry, or were you just doing a post because you knew that you wanted to come from this standpoint? When actually, who does anybody think they are saying, you shouldn't do it this way? And I'm like, what? Like, literally, don't tell me what to do. Do you know what?
This leads me on to a point where I'm going to say, I believe one of the best books I've ever read was Roland Barthes' book about modern mythologies. Right. It was the mythologies in that book, by the way, aren't modern now because it was written a long time ago. But the book concept was brilliant. All right. And in that book, he talks about a whole load of mythologies, cultural mythologies, which they're myths. They're just creations, right? That we create in culture and society and then people believe them, right? Just because, they're myths. For example, there's a brilliant one in there, which of course, every young boy studying at university is going to remember, where he talks about stripping, right? And nakedness. Oh, this is going to go well when I put this through the AI.
Well, no, because I was going to say something in a minute as well.
Right. But the thing is that the mythology that he talks about there is that the naked body, if you like, if you think about it in terms of sort of like what we see on the internet now, right? The nakedness is the most attractive thing. And what he argues is that actually nakedness isn't the most attractive thing. The most attractive thing is actually the possibility of nakedness.
Okay,
right?
Yeah.
Right? It's much more alluring. It's much
Gemini should be getting involved in this.
Yeah. It's much more sensual, really, to think about what might be under somebody's clothes than it is to actually see them naked, right? And yet what we get, right, and we've even seen it on LinkedIn this week, is there it is. And, that's actually not sexy, right? It's actually, it could be far more sexy to just have like a little wink in the face or something. Just a little, but anyway, that's one of the things he talks about. People might going to listen to this bit now, go, no, I think.
I was going to say because I wanted at some point, when he talked about like norms or what people should or shouldn't do or whatever, I saw quite a lot of it, and I I haven't really talked about this much because people jump on one part of what you say and then they rip you apart, because social media is great like that, isn't it? Because it's great to like tear someone down.
Without eating properly.
The Bonnie Blue thing, that I feel like there was a lot of people that jumped on all of that without actually exploring it all properly. So I did watch the program. I did watch it. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah, I did.
And I guess I always try and look at things from many different really bad
different angles. She certainly did.
No, but what was funny about it was that I get a lot of the arguments that were made about whether she was right, wrong, whatever, was what I didn't like. And I actually, there were some really nasty comments made to me. It was a guy that posted something about her and called her all sorts of names. And I said, can we just separate here? You may not agree with what she did, but you are literally being very nasty in your descriptions of who she is. That they're two very different things here. You've caused her some very nasty things. And then he was like, oh, well, I'm sure if you had boys and they chose to partake in something like that. I said, well, I have got boys. And I said, I may not like what my children would do, but that is, do you know what I mean? That if that's the choice that person makes, that's the choice a person makes. And I said, and actually, I never said along the way whether I would do it or whether I agreed, disagreed. But we've all got our reasons why we would or wouldn't do something. And actually, you know, she appeared to be absolutely fine. But I think a lot of it was that there was a judgment made about what she'd done based on how society sees. Am I allowed to say the SEX word? I don't know. Well, I won't anyway.
Well, you just have, yeah.
Well, I didn't say it. But how society views that, like you said about marriage or whatever. So if, let's just say we were animals, well, we are, I guess, and that there wasn't, with all these...
I get what you're saying.
If it was deemed as okay, what I'm saying is society says, so even if you think about things like throuples or even same-sex marriages, once upon a time, that was not okay, right? But we're now seeing that it's every bit okay. People don't die being in a relationship like that. Children flourish when they're in a relationship, when they're in a family that's there. So my point being that if she arguably wasn't doing anything wrong, for argument's sake, societally wise, she was, because that's not deemed as okay. But what I felt most uncomfortable with that it was being brought into mainstream social media, because arguably, actually, what she was doing was stuff that just happens that people pay to see. But it's,
although, you know, I'm going to counter argue it a little bit, because in the program she talks about how, and certainly the people that she was working with as well, the marketing team that she was working with, talk about how brilliant she is at marketing and how what she did. One of the things she did was she would read something that the press were getting a little bit riled about in terms of her behavior, and then she would actually exploit that to rile them even more, because she knew it would be publicity for her.
But that's my point, being that who is wrong here? Because it's the same as you know, somebody could say that it's a prostitute, let's just say that they're being exploited, but actually many might say, well, actually maybe I'm exploiting, you know. So I think that it was wrong that she would be targeting certain people, but even so, she still said they were always with people of legal age. But is she at fault, or are those platforms? Because actually the one platform stopped her from...
Well, I'm going to say,
I'm not saying I agree with any of this necessarily. What I'm saying is there's lots of different ways of looking at this, and where do we draw the line?
I don't like her behaviour, right?
I'm not saying I liked it.
I don't like her behaviour. I don't certainly wouldn't want. Yeah, but having said all of that, it's a war.
That right. I think that's what
it's 100% a war, and it's you know, another case. Not on this. No, and please, no legals here, right? not putting these two cases together in any kind of respect, because they are completely different. But if you think about it, right, if you think about the way that Kate Nash took to OnlyFans, showing her bottom, right, to prove a point that she needed to raise money to go on tour, because even as, and she kept saying, I'm Kate Nash, right? I should be, having had like big hits and good album sales, I should be in a position to tour. I'm not, because it costs too much money now, and that we, as musicians, we don't make enough money now, right? And if I, as Kate Nash, can't do it, what about all of these other musicians? That how can they do it, right? Unless mummy and daddy are loaded, which is where the whole Nepo baby comes from, etc. So, but the point is, what she's pointing out is that, you know, the system's broke. People will find another system, and you create a war of systems. And you know, that program just showed, right, the system is broke, and the system enabled her, and she's enabling herself through the system. And that's, do you know what
I think that was my sort of point with it as well, was that what she also highlighted was that kids need to be taught about this sort of thing and about making the right decisions, if you see what I mean. And that actually it is she wrong for doing that? Because if it wasn't her, it'd be somebody else, let's just say. That actually, if kids were taught and better or whatever, is she at fault? I can't remember what she said, something about education, wasn't it? She said basically, I was doing and thinking or whatever, as many people would be, earlier than adults would think. And therefore, actually, what's at fault is the lack of education, not that as such.
I think rounding your whole argument up on this, right, what you were arguing about with that guy on LinkedIn, rightly so, is that you might think this is base, you might think this is disgusting or whatever, but actually on a platform like LinkedIn, if we want LinkedIn to be better than other platforms, when we discuss these things, let's discuss them intelligently.
Exactly. It was basically what it was a chance for this person to then be talking about what their attitudes were towards that kind of thing. And my point being, with all of this,
without opening to discussion on it.
Yeah, but for me, this is, and the reason I got onto this was that so often I see out there, whether it is the one that I saw an argument with somebody saying that they'd been given that zero alcohol beer, gluten-free instead of alcohol-free or whatever. But my point being that it just feels as if people are walking around very, very angry instead of actually just having a conversation. So when you were saying about, like, in the workplace, different people need to sleep at different times or do things, I just think that some people walk around thinking they're some kind of gods or something, and their way is the only way. And it could be a neurodivergent person thinking they want the world their way. Well, life doesn't happen like that. You know, you, me, lots of us have got 6 weeks of school holidays to juggle. And I've literally had to, you know, I'm going out in a bit. I've come down to a friend's. I've just had a cup of tea bought by my son, actually. You know, we're going out, but I'm having to work all different hours, same as you are as well, to try and make it work. And I just think if people just started being a little bit, well, but also just get down from your point of view. The same as when people are trainers. I want it my way. And I go, it's not just your way. If you want to get the best out of people, that's the key to it, is you can carry on expecting the world to be a certain way, but you're never going to get the best out of people. So if you just climb down from that and try to see the world from other people's points of view, whether it's a friend, whether it's I don't know, I had a friend that always wanted to go to expensive restaurants, and it made it that I was like, I can't go. And so she would rather carry on doing that. And you think, can't we all just sort of not sometimes we're not going to have what we want, those needs met,
No.
you know, and it and it's in everything. And I just see it a lot on LinkedIn at the moment that people are saying, this is how it has to be. And when you do this, somebody accused me the other day of writing, because I'd put a dash thing in it. And I said, that's how I write. I haven't used, it's not because of AI, but they made this assumption and you mustn't do this and people shouldn't do that. And you're like, what? Like literally, who do people think they are? Telling people as if they think they're some kind of god.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna kind of pull that into my poll this morning, and I've got to tell you where this came from. So talk about another big modern mythology. I saw 10. This is no word of a lie. I put my phone on earlier this morning, and I was reading through posts. I saw 10 posts with people holding self-help business books. You know, these self-development business books. Like, look at it. This is gold. I've read it. You know, one guy was like, I've read it twice. Right. I just can't put this book down. It's just amazing, or whatever. And in this particular one, he was basically going, and so insightful what this guy says in here. Basically, this guy in this book was saying, if you form habits, they become habits. And I'm like, so I wrote this post saying, I don't know about you, but does anyone else out there find that a lot of these self-help books just a bit obvious?
Yeah, but also the self-help books make the assumption that there's often nobody else in your life that impacts on.
Oh, they're very selfish.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They're
yeah,
like
yeah,
a lot.
yeah.
I see a lot of the ADHD stuff is.
But you'll love this.
I do this, and this, and I think, what's happening to like everybody else in your life? That's
at this point. So this post has only gone up today, right? It's only been up for 3 hours, right? And it's got 54 votes already, right? But here we go. So despite the fact there's all of these people all over LinkedIn pushing I read these self-development books and whatever, and they're amazing, and everybody going, they're amazing, right? When I asked the question, do you find most self-improvement books just a little bit obvious, right? 61% have said yes. 33% of people have said they've never read any, and only 6% think they're brilliant. So it just shows you this is what's happening, right? There is a massive gulf between actually what people really believe and what people will applaud and celebrate on a platform like LinkedIn because they think they need to. Just stop it, folks.
It is. Can I just make it clear before anybody jumps on me about the other thing that I was talking about, the Bonnie Blue thing? My actual point there was, and I think it's my working in education, worked in prisons, I've worked in children's services, I've worked in children's homes, I've done all sorts of stuff. My point there was that if we just jump on what someone does and we don't look at and learn to listen to them, to understand them, there's always going to be that problem there. If you only ever look at what someone does, I'm sure with like Barnaby, let's just say, if you only looked at what he does instead of looking and asking him and speaking to him to understand, you're not going to get it.
That's not saying that you condone it.
Exactly, that's my point, is because people jump on it. You're saying you agree. The same as many things I put out there. People say, you're saying you agree. I said, no, I'm just offering you another viewpoint. That's just what saying, I'm doing.
I want to understand, and I want us all to discuss it.
I've offered lots of other viewpoints, and people have said, well, you keep saying this. And I said, but you keep saying that. And I'm trying to say to you, try to see it from the other point of view.
Step outside yourself.
Yeah, I think we'd be much less angry or something if we did. We
will be back next week with more conversation, but until then, if you're a self-employed person out there, you have ADHD, you're neurodivergent, you're struggling a little bit and you'd like some help and some guidance, do get in touch with Marianne. Just have a conversation to begin with, right? It starts with a conversation. If you feel that Marianne can help you, she'll help you. If you don't feel like Marianne can help you, then you've lost nothing. She's lost half an hour. That's the way it goes. And if any of you would like help with getting a little bit more traction on LinkedIn, do get in touch with either of us. We'd love to have a conversation with you about that as well. We will be back same time, same place next week, hopefully with a guest as well. But until then, from Marianne and me, bye for now.